I'm Jim Ross. He's Matt Van Horn. And this is the 3 Mile Domination Podcast.
Hey Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good. Another crazy week behind us, and it's amazing how these weeks are flying by here.
Absolutely.
But no, on this topic here, again, we always talk about how our managers are doing and what we can do to, create better managers. Now, salesmanship is, so important now. And, it kind of boils down to, secret shopping, mystery shopping, whatever you want to call it. Your site and of course, your competitors. And what we talked about in the past, of course, is, recording your phone calls and with tracking numbers. And this day and age with technology, it's so easy to really drill down and see how your managers are performing, especially on the phone.
No, absolutely. I mean, the idea that again, tracking is a real main part of what we talk about in 3 Mile Domination, and it's tracking everything. And again, it's because we have the technology to do it now, which is where we didn't have it 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we would make a phone call to do a secret shop. We'd, maybe have a telephone, some sort of cassette recorder or possibly CD recorder or something hooked up to where we could get that information. But now it's all electronic with tracking numbers and just regular call recording. It takes 10 seconds to get all this information, so there's really no reason not to do it anymore.
Oh, exactly. But I'm always floored, and every time we're taking over a new location, I'm sitting down with the owner, and we're discussing, how's the manager doing, how long they've been there, and more often than not, the owners are saying they're a great manager, they're doing wonderful. I'm like, well, okay, let's see why we're here. So the first thing I'll do is I'll secret shop the manager. I'll call from a block line or for a line that doesn't say, cutting edge management or my name on it. And more often than not, it's a phone call where it typically goes, I'm calling for I need to get some pricing on a storage unit, and they'll either say, what size you're looking for, putting it back on me, and of course, I'll, make up a few items, and they'll give me a size, 10 by 10. Then I say, well, how much? They'll give you a price quote, and that's the end of the phone call. So it's surprising just how the lack of sales training, especially not to knock our industry, but especially it seems like in storage, the sales training is just simply not there.
No, it is scary, and if you consider that probably 70-80% of our initial customer contact comes by phone, it makes the numbers even worse. Your managers, again, 8 out of 10 customers, 7 out of 10 customers are going to come via the phone first. They're either going to find your phone number on the website, they're going to find it on some other direct mail piece or some other type of marketing you put out, maybe the phone book still. But, your customers are finding you and they're calling you to get some information. And that's the great thing about it is if they're calling, self-storage is a very, very specific business. If they're calling you, they have a need for it in some way, shape, or form. It's either them or their family or a friend or something like that. So there's no reason not to, to convert almost every phone call that comes in.
Oh, exactly. And we'll, in a later episode, we'll definitely drill down into more of the sales phone call. But the purpose of this podcast is more putting that seed in everyone's mind of listening to your phone calls, evaluating them. If you have, recording your phone calls with a tracking number, great. I mean, you already have that database already there for you. I think there's nothing better than actual customers calling in. If you don't have a tracking number like that, then there's plenty of services out there that will, of course, pretend to be a customer, call in, record that for you, and provide you with, a checklist of, how the call went, what the demeanor of the manager was, if they asked the right questions. Basically just the overall sales presentation. And that's great. They have those services available out there. You can pay, and it's very cheap. But to me, there's nothing else, comparison to if you have those calls already recorded with a tracking number, that it's true sales calls. It's real customers calling in, And plus, you have a bigger database to listen to. It's not just a one call and you're done. You'll have a plethora of phone calls to go through to really get a good grasp of how your manager has conducted themselves on the phone. Because, like as you mentioned, in this industry, we live and die by the phone. If we're terrible on that phone call, they're not going to be following up with a visit to rent the unit.
No, I agree completely. And I mean, it's nice to have a very, very large stable of calls to be able to go through, because obviously everyone has a bad day and not every call is going to go the way you hope. Well, some people are only going to call and ask for a price and that's all they want and then they're going to hang up. But most people, and I would say, when I say most people, I would say 90% of people, want to be educated on what they're looking at, because most people don't know anything about self-storage. And, again, these numbers get even scarier when we drill down in a later episode about the real numbers about this, but, what your closing percentages should be. Once they do close, how much does it cost to miss a phone call? What's the average, length of stay at your property versus the phone call that you missed, and then take that income and put it on a cap rate, and it becomes, all of a sudden these phone calls become $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in missed revenue, and it happens very quickly.
And once you have that figure and you can really explain that to the managers of just how much potential money is on the other side of that line, they'll have it running through their mind before they actually answer the phone. And I can guarantee if they know that figure, the sales presentation is going to be that much better, because the whole idea is to close that sale, get them in to rent that unit, versus if there's just another phone call. If I miss it, I'll call them back. Once they realize that lost revenue, it will really change their attitude, especially.
Absolutely, because we know once we get them in the front door, or once we get them to visit the facility, our chances of closing that tenant goes up exponentially. So it really, really starts on the phone.
Yep, exactly. While we're on the topic of phone calls, and shopping your managers, at the same time, shop your competition. Again, you got to know what they are doing, how they're handling themselves on the phone. Of course, we're really hoping for your competition managers are terrible on the phone, because that way, if your managers are actually doing a great job and selling ship on the phone, they're going to stand apart. But then again, you might have some stiff competition, and those managers are trained very well. They're great on the phone. You got to know what you're up against, and you got to know what their specials are they're giving. It just seems, again, not to knock the industry, but a lot of times it's been months and months and months have passed since the last really competitive survey has been done, and it's very simple. Just do it over the phone, block number, what have you, to check on that. But that's part of our manager's duty. Is once a month is doing that sales call and just really seeing what the competition is doing on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, if your competition is worse than what you've been doing, that's even better for you. And then if you even make incremental improvements at your own property, you'll reap the benefits immediately.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just the small things. It doesn't take much to really stand apart from the competition. And once you listen to those phone calls, even though it might be cringeworthy for the managers, really listen to themselves and critique themselves. I mean, we all hate the sound of our own voice, but when you're actually listening to that call, you pick up on things like, oh, I could have been better there, or there was a lot of dead air there. I mean, perfect example. I was listening to, unfortunately, one of my own managers' calls not too long ago, and when you first start the day, you print off that sheet, your available unit list. You want to have that in front of you. And a call came in. The guy was looking for like a 10 by 20. And the manager's like, okay, let me pull it up for you. Let me get that price. And you hear some clicking of the buttons. You hear him breathing. Dead air, dead air. I'm like, oh, I'm cringing on the other line going, just get the damn price. And literally, it seemed like 45 seconds went by. Oh, okay, here's the price. Well, to me, the sale's dead. I don't care what price you give them, what special you're going to give them. You just came across totally unprofessional. And unless you're listening to those calls, you wonder how many of those calls have actually come in and how many sales have been lost because of that.
Well, and above and beyond that, in this attention deficit disorder society that we live in now, where we're getting constantly pinged with advertising and people wanting our attention, we're trained now not to pay attention to anything that takes longer than 30 seconds. So, if the manager of the property can't find what he's looking for, can't get the price, I hate to say it, but they're already scrolling through their iPhone looking for the next property. And it's just the way we are. We are now a very, very McDonald's-oriented society now. We want things in, 30 minutes or less, to get it going and up and gone. And it's probably 30 seconds or less now on the phone or when you're dealing with somebody directly. And, people don't want to wait.
Oh, exactly. So it's going to be a great call. Or you can do our next episode, but I want to talk more about the sales call, the salesmanship, and the manager when that call comes in. But the second part of this equation is once that phone call comes in, the manager does a great job on the phone. Okay. Next part is that customers come in to your facility to rent, or let's say it's a drive-by and they're just walking in. And that happens plenty of times. Drive-by is still one of the bigger factors that's bringing tenants in right now. I mean, some of my sites it's still upwards of 70%. It's nuts. So as far as secret shopping, mystery shopping, you want to have an in-person mystery shop done. And this is a little bit harder when, of course, they know your face and you want to have whoever go in and do a secret shopping. This is what I do recommend to hire a service that will go in and perform this. They'll have, especially if they are really focusing on the self-storage industry, they'll have great checklists and everything already done, made, and things that you never would have maybe ever thought of to even, check out on the checklist before. They've already done the brain damage and have all this stuff done. And I've done this a number of times in my own facilities. Have them go in and, pretend to their customer. I don't have them do the whole rental process, but just, the customer inquiry. And it's eye-opening, because they're looking at, the drive-by, the curb appeal, how the office looked, of course, the demeanor of the manager. Did they stand up and then they walked in? Were they friendly? And then, of course, the rest of the sales process. And some of those evaluations have come back and just been, invaluable because let's just face it, we're kind of, like me and you, we're going to our sites all the time, doing our site visits since we're the regional managers for our locations here. Not to say that we're biased, but it's almost like if you kind of see the same site over and over again, you may be blind to certain aspects that a person coming with fresh eyes is gonna pick up on.
Absolutely.
So it's I couldn't recommend it. In-person secret shopping more. And I wouldn't say you have to do it every single month. Put it in your budget, maybe once a quarter, a few times a year, but do that, and you get those evaluations back. And again, it's not going to be difficult to, put a fresh coat of paint on the curb or spruce up the office a little bit, and do some more in-person, sales training. But just those little factors that you improve on, it's going to improve your bottom line. So you'll be getting more rentals, you're going to be closing more sales. You have nothing to lose, So you can just be mindful about doing some of the shopping with the phone and in person. You have everything to gain.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we were talking about in future episodes, we'll go more into different techniques and then also the finance end of it, why this is so important, why we, really drag on it so much. It's not that you've lost $100 sale, when you compound that over months and months and months and then compound that on a cap rate for what you'd want to, sell your property for in the long term. Again, now all of a sudden it turns into big bucks, and that missing that one phone call is not as funny as it was.
Well, exactly. I mean, and again, kind of going back to presenting that to the manager, really understanding that figure. I mean, I remember back in the days when I was a manager at a location many years ago. It's crazy how time flies now, but I remember getting those secret shopper scores coming in, and I kind of felt like, I don't know, were they trying to catch me in doing something bad, or it was just all about the critiquing and not the rewarding of, good job here, but you can improve here. I just kind of felt that way. And I know I shouldn't have. I kind of felt, kind of like Big Brother type thing. But if you go and sit down with the manager and let them know this is why we are doing it, for that financial end of, if we just lose one sale, this is how it's going to affect us. I think if I had been told that, sat down and really explained to me, the intentions of why they were doing the in-person and the phone shopping, I think I would have a much better attitude as a manager in taking it and as to why they were evaluating me. And so if nothing else, as far as the owner or regional manager listening to this, again, before we just throw them the email or whatever and show them, oh, this was a great you got on this evaluation, really sit down with them beforehand and let them understand your intention of why you're evaluating them. You're not trying to catch them doing something bad. It's for everyone's benefit. And, again, the bottom line is, if we can close one extra sale, everybody's going to win.
Absolutely. And again, with some of these tracking services, and we've talked about this before, that, a lot of times with the stable of phone calls, the managers actually have access to it as well. So they can go in and listen to some of their own calls before we even get to doing some of them. So they'll already have a pretty good idea of how they're doing.
Yep, exactly. We've been using the service call potential for their tracking numbers. And if it's a service out there for marketing that we're doing, we're going to throw a tracking number on it. But part of the benefits of having that tracking number, again, it's going to be recorded. And so we want to have our managers listen to those calls. And again, I think the worst critics is you're going to be your own worst critic when you're listening to the calls. And so we love having our managers go through those phone calls and listening to them. And they're going to pick up on what could be done better. And again, it's part of the sales process. As long as they're constantly improving, they're going to be light years ahead of most managers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the world has changed. It's no longer build a self-storage facility, put somebody behind a desk, and good luck and off and running. It's no longer like that. We are a mature industry. Wall Street knows exactly who we are. We have very, very large REITs that have gotten even larger over the last 5 to 6 years. We are now a big part of the real estate sector in America. We're no longer under the radar. People know what we are, and unfortunately, because of that, we are now going to have to start moving as a mature industry and creating policy and procedures and sales tactics and things to get people to, put their money in our facilities, because there's a lot of competition out there, and it's not going away anytime soon. Once you read about your industry in the Wall Street Journal, you're no longer under the radar.
No, exactly, and that's kind of the point of why we sat down, wanted to create this 3 Mile Domination business, and this podcast is really to make sure you get the tools, education to really stand out from your competitors. And again, it's needed in this industry. So hopefully I think we're on the right track. I'm enjoying it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I guess we can wrap it up unless you have anything else you can think of to talk about on this topic.
No, not today. I think, like I said, we'll delve more into the numbers and tactics on future calls, but this is just sort of a wake-up call podcast for everyone who's listening to this to, really, really concentrate on what you're doing on the phone.
You got it. All right, man. It's been good talking to you, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Have a great week. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the 3 Mile Domination podcast. Please check us out at our website, 3miledomination.com, where you can download our free ebook, connect with us on all the social media platforms, and to subscribe to this podcast. Please spread the word to those you think that will benefit from this show. Just don't tell your competitors. Thanks again.